Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking the first Deluxe, Voyager and Leader class wave from the Studio series for 2019. Usually I would save a ranking video for the end of the year, however this first wave for 2019 has been so strong and has presented itself with some really fantastic releases that I personally believe that this wave of figures deserved its own ranking video right at the start of 2019. In this video, I'll be giving you my thoughts on feelings on why I believe that particular figure deserves the specific rank that it is designated to, and what I'd like and dislike about each of the figures. So without further ado, let's get into the 10th spot on my 2019 ranking. Taking the 10th spot on my list is of course the Transformers Studio Series number 30 Deluxe Class Crankcase. When Hasbro first announced this figure back in August, I originally thought that this was going to be a mistake and that this was actually a placeholder mold for the actual Crankcase mold. However, as December dawned upon us, I finally began to realise that my fears were becoming reality when leaked images of this figure started to surface. This is such a letdown, as Crankcase was one of the most predominant characters from the three Dreads, and I really wish that Hasbro, if they were going to go down the route of repainting a figure, used the Last Night Berserker, as that figure would have been a great candidate for Deluxe Class Crankcase. As this figure stands, it still does have a place in my collection, as in vehicle form I do have the complete set of three Dreads, and in robot mode it does look like a very cool looking Decepticon. I do quite like the gold plastic for the Dreads, however the gold plastic for the hands and the rear lights really do not do anything for me, and I do personally believe that the crowbar mold that this character is based on is definitely a lot better than this one in terms of accuracy as well as overall colour choice. Taking the 9th spot on my list is of course the Transformers Studio Series number 27 Clunker Bumblebee. Now surprisingly, I actually quite like this figure. I do definitely think it is a vast improvement over the previous version, and the paint applications in the vehicle mode are very accurate to the on-screen vehicle that we saw in the first live action movie. I love how they've reinforced some of the joints, such as the pin in the back of the backpack, in order to prevent it from falling off during transformation. The joints have also been tightened as well, making this the most definitive mold for Bumblebee when he is the 1977 Camaro. However, this should have been the figure that we got along with the first wave. The first wave Bumblebee is now rendered completely useless and is only really able to be displayed in his vehicle form if you want it to stand in for the vehicle mode that we see Bumblebee attire in the latest Bumblebee movie. Overall, I do really like this repaint. It's definitely a nice, sufficient use of the mold. However, yet again, this should have really have been the figure we got from the get-go. Taking the 8th spot on my list is the Transformers Studio Series number 31 Voyager Class Battle Damage Megatron, a figure that was a complete surprise and literally dropped on the 1st of January 2019. This figure was not rumoured to be released, nor had it been officially announced by Hasbro, and still to this day, Hasbro and Takara have still not acknowledged that this figure actually exists. The reason why this figure is 8th spot on my list is because essentially it is just a repaint and a slight retool of the original Studio Series number 13 Voyager Megatron. I really like the battle damage head sculpt on this figure, as well as the new metallic and darker paint scheme that they have given this figure. It is a vast improvement in terms of paint applications over the original version. However, once again, seeing as this is just a repaint, I can't rank it any higher than some of the newer figures such as Jetfire, Sideswipe, or Dark of the Moon Leader Class Megatron. This definitely deserves its place in your collection, seeing as this is a figure from probably one of the most badass scenes from the second movie, the part where Jetfire and Optimus combine and blast off half of Megatron's face. Taking the 7th spot on my list is the Transformers Studio Series number 26 Deluxe Class World War II Bumblebee. When this figure was officially announced back in August, I was completely surprised and shocked that Hasbro and Takara had actually produced this figure as early on as they had. At the time, it had barely been a year since The Last Night was in theatres, so I really thought that we were going to be waiting a very long time for this figure. However, it is here and it is really good looking, especially in its robot mode. The details in the robot mode are near spot on for what we see in The Last Night. I love the accessories he comes with. Obviously the Warhammer was something that we see Bumblebee use throughout the entirety of The Last Night, and I do think that quadruple barreled shotgun that he comes with is also a really nice addition. Some drawbacks to the figure include extremely loose ball joints in the hips, the massive backpack, and the completely inaccurate vehicle mode to the movie. However, as I stated in my review, I personally believe that the inaccurate vehicle mode is probably down to some licensing agreements, seeing as the vehicle mode is such an old vehicle. Overall, this is definitely a very warm welcome in my collection. However, upon watching the Bumblebee movie over Christmas, I have begun to believe that this figure is actually rendered completely retconned from the entire movie verse. Bumblebee, according to the Bumblebee movie, was never on Earth during the events of World War II, making this figure kind of in a limbo state, seeing as apparently he never actually appeared in the movie. However, nevertheless, this figure definitely deserves a place on my shelf, and is definitely one of the most distinctive and more memorable Bumblebee figures due to its abstract design. Taking the 6th spot on my list is the Transformers Studio Series number 33 Voyager class Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher was a figure that I wanted from the Studio Series all the way back last year when the Studio Series was first announced. Upon this figure's official announcement, I was really hyped to see that this figure had finally been given the Voyager class scale that it deserved. However, upon having the figure in hand, I was slightly let down by how small this figure was. It is barely bigger than an average deluxe class figure. However, the bulk of the figure definitely does make up for it in terms of the Voyager class price point. The accuracy is fairly improved over the original 2007 deluxe class figure. However, as I stated, I do wish that this figure was ever so slightly taller, as in the movie he did seem to be roughly the same size as Optimus Prime. However, I'm not a scale genius, so this could be completely accurate to what we see in the film. I love the vehicle mode for this figure, and I also really enjoy the transformation. It definitely lends itself to some of the other Bonecrusher figures, such as that deluxe class figure from 2007, as well as incorporating some new elements, making the transformation quite enjoyable to go through. The articulation on this figure is fantastic. I love the ankle rocker joints in the legs, something which I really didn't expect, and seeing as this figure is essentially on roller skates, it stands incredibly well. I also love the detail that they've done to the head sculpt. It is by far one of the best head sculpts we've had in the Studio Series line so far, and it is a perfect companion piece for the Voyager class 32 Optimus Prime. Overall, I'm glad to finally complete the 2007 Decepticon team, and then that takes me on to my number 5th spot. Taking the 5th spot on my list is the Transformers Studio Series number 28 Deluxe Class Barricade. Upon first getting this figure, I thought it was fantastic. I never ever collected any Deluxe Class Barricade, so to have this figure to start off with was great. I did collect the previous movie Masterpiece Barricade, as well as the original Human Alliance figure. This figure, to me, completely destroys the Human Alliance figure, and is almost as good as the greatly prized movie Masterpiece figure. Where this figure falls short is in the transformation. It is extremely fiddly, and due to the figure's diminutive size, it can make the transformation extremely frustrating. However, the details in robot mode are fantastic. I love the use of articulation, and the accessory that he comes with, being that saw blade, is a really nice inclusion. Another downfall that I have with this figure is that he doesn't include the Frenzy. Seeing as the Dark of the Moon Megatron comes with Igor, a character which no one wanted, and the leader class Blackout come with Scorponok, I really thought Hasbro and Takara were going to release Barricade with Frenzy, as Frenzy definitely made a really big impact on viewers back when the film was originally released in 2007. Overall, I really like this Deluxe Class Barricade figure, despite some of its flaws, and it looks great when displayed next to some of the 2007 movie Decepticons. My only hope now is that with the announcement of movie Masterpiece 2007 Megatron, we will finally get a Voyager Class 07 Megatron from the original 2007 movie to complete our lineup of Decepticons. Taking the 4th spot on my video is the Transformers Studio Series figure number 32 Voyager Class Optimus Prime from the 2007 movie. When this figure was first announced, I was originally quite annoyed at Hasbro for releasing a more accurate version of Optimus Prime only a few months after they'd already released the Revenge of the Fallen version. However, upon having this figure in hand, I can definitely say that it was worth the early release, as it is so movie accurate and is probably the best representation we've had of Optimus Prime in Voyager class form. It completely destroys the previous Revenge of the Fallen version and is just so accurate. I love the engineering and the transformation. It is definitely one of the most complex Voyager class Optimus Prime figures we've had in an exceptionally long time. I think the vehicle mode too looks really nice. My only criticism of this figure is the fact that the smokestacks are still not able to extend, and that the wheel wells cannot collapse like the original Revenge of the Fallen release. However, this figure actually combines with the leader class Jetfire, making this figure even more of a reason to pick it up. Overall, I highly recommend this version of Optimus Prime, and he looks great alongside the other Autobots as well as Decepticons from the Studio Series line. Now taking the 3rd spot on my list is the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class number 29 Sideswipe. Finally, we get a fantastic rendition of Sideswipe from the live action Transformers movieverse. The only figure I ever owned of Sideswipe was the original Human Alliance figure, and despite me really enjoying that figure, I did not like the massive backpack that the figure had and the countless times I had stability problems with it. This figure fixed almost every single problem. Upon looking up images from the previous deluxes, I can safely say that this figure destroys any of those. It's been given this really nice silver premium paint application throughout both the robot mode as well as the vehicle mode. I love how Hasbro and Takara have included both the signature Sideswipe blades as well as the 2 small pistols that we see him use in the Mexican standoff. The articulation for a small deluxe class figure too is fantastic, and overall the sculpt is really nice. I love how they've managed to incorporate the accessories into the vehicle mode. Some may say it's parts forming, but to me I think it is a great way of engineering the weapons into the vehicle form. I also really love the movie accurate details, and I think he scales fantastically with the other Transformers figures from this line. Personally, this is the best Sideswipe you can pick up, and if you haven't got a Sideswipe figure already, I highly recommend that you pick up this figure. Taking the runner-up spot at number 2 is the Transformers Studios Series Leader Class number 34, Dark of the Moon Megatron. Finally, we have an accurate, larger rendition of my favourite design of Megatron, that being his appearance from Dark of the Moon. This figure made me extremely happy, as back in 2011, I wanted nothing more than to have a Leader Class rendition of the Dark of the Moon Megatron. While this figure isn't as big as some of the previous Leader figures, it definitely vastly improves over the Voyager class figure that we got back in 2011. The articulation as well as the accuracy in the robot mode is absolutely fantastic. I love how they've managed to actually get each of the wheels in the proper configuration in robot mode. I love that he comes with his movie accurate shotgun, a real fabric cloak, as well as the chain that goes around the torso section, and he even comes with the additional Igor accessory. This figure is absolutely fantastic, and I think his transformation too is really good. The vehicle mode is also fantastic. It is that Mad Max Mack truck that we see him obtain in the Transformers 3 movie. And upon originally realising that this figure was going to be classed as the Leader Class, I did slightly worry about the scale. However, upon having this figure in hand, it is more or less the exact same size as the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager class Megatron if you have the legs in the proper configuration. I also think the Leader Class price point is definitely warranted, seeing as how much plastic you get in this figure, as he is an extremely bulky figure in robot mode and an extremely long figure in vehicle mode. Overall, this figure pleased me tremendously, and if it wasn't for the fantastic Leader Class Jetfire, this figure definitely would have taken the top spot on my list. I highly recommend that you pick this figure up now. And of course, the first spot goes to the Transformers Studio Series Leader Class number 35, Jetfire. This figure completely blew away my expectations. I love the accuracy to the on-screen CGI model is completely mind-blowing. This figure is so detailed and accurate to the film that it is really quite surprising that it has even been produced. I think the face sculpt is probably the best face sculpt out of any of the Studio Series figures. The articulation is great, the scale is fantastic. It is a really beefy and very well proportioned Leader Class figure. I love the accessories that he comes with, despite some minor flaws such as the opening hands. I have no major gripes with this figure whatsoever. The compatibility with the Voyager class Optimus Prime upon first glance looks completely impossible. You literally would not think that this figure could split apart into individual components to be applied onto Optimus Prime. Alas, it actually can, and it does it incredibly well. The transformation to the vehicle form is extremely fluid and very elegant, and the actual look of Jetfire's vehicle form being that Blackbird jet mode is also tremendous. The overall length of the vehicle mode looks really good, and I just think that the articulation in Jetfire's robot mode is too astounding. This figure is probably my favourite entry into the Studio Series thus far, making it reign supreme over any of the other Studio Series before it. It's definitely going to take a lot from future releases to overthrow this figure off the number 1 spot on my list, as this figure truly is a masterpiece in my eyes. So there you have it. That is my ranking video for the first wave of Deluxe Class, Voyager Class and Leader Class figures for 2019. Do you agree with my list? Please let me know down in the comment section below what ranking you'd give each of these figures, and please be sure to let me know what you thought of the video down in the comment section below. I have got some more reviews coming up in the very near future, so be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for them. I have covered and done reviews on every single figure that you see here, so please check out my Transformers Studio Series playlist right now to watch the individual reviews for each and every one of these fantastic figures. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.